Hey folks, welcome back to Fireside with the Colonels. It's been a bit since we did this. January was the last time we've had a Fireside with the Colonels. Welcome back to the program. My co-host here is Colonel Wynand Toit from South Africa. But before we get into that, and I welcome Wynand, just very quickly here, I noticed in the chat that Patrick Brian Pereira said that one of his cousins was murdered in the vicinity of Midmar this weekend. Grant Millar was his name. Rest in peace, deepest sympathies. Our thoughts and prayers to Grant and to your family. That's really sad. Anytime a life is taken prematurely. Wynand, hoe gaan dit?
Chris, good evening. No, it's going well. And as you have said, it's quite a while since we have last chatted. But we had the meeting in February there in Pretoria, which was quite nice. I think it went well. And you had a successful tour of South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was
absolutely.
also great.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. But then life continues, and we are extremely busy at this stage. Such a lot of stuff that is happening, and things that we are doing, new things that we are putting into place, and some changes that has happened over the past month or so. And we adapt. How does they say, adapt or die, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll get into those changes and modifications here shortly, because I've been asked about that by some of my viewers, and I'm not really up on it. So for me, it'll be discovery, learning as we go along, as you share that with. But in the meantime, yeah, let me talk about the South Africa tour and about our get-together there. But also, let me thank Andre Schoenfeld, who became a subscriber 2 minutes ago. That was behind the screen. We had the welcome. So thank you, Andre, for becoming a subscriber. Do appreciate it. Help us grow on the Shadow Band channel. By the way, if you want to help me, my original channel, I don't know if Wynand and I have talked since then. My original channel was restored after 23 months. I peeled it for a third time, and it's back now. But that channel is losing subscribers like viral particles from the spicy cough. I've lost 250 subscribers since it came back. While it was on hiatus over 2 years, YouTube took 2,000 subscribers off, took me down to 21,000. But I'm just over 21,000 now. So folks, that channel, if you put the @ symbol, @real Chris Wyatt, I took a page out of Donald Trump's playbook, @real Chris Wyatt, because he uses @real Donald Trump, because someone else had scarfed up the Chris Wyatt while I was in the gulag there. But the original channel @Chris Wyatt is @real Chris Wyatt. So please check it out, become a subscriber, and please become a subscriber here. All right, so Wynand, I don't think you knew that my original channel was back. That's news to you, isn't it?
You said it to me on a WhatsApp the other day, but okay. I'm very glad. Yeah, that it is back.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I forgot that I told you, because I got kind of excited, but but they're taking away subscribers so fast I can't keep up.
Yeah, but that is happening, and I mean, on my side, the channel is still growing. It's doing well at this stage. I've also started with memberships and those type of things, which is actually very nice. And yeah, on Thursday evenings, I chat with the guys, sort of a live thing. They ask questions and I answer. Yeah, so my side is going well, and I'm very glad that your old channel is back.
No, I'm excited about it too. I'm also excited to hear that you've got memberships. You know, a couple years ago, in 2020, on my original channel, the one that was just restored, which doesn't have memberships, people keep asking me to restore it. I'll do that shortly. I was waiting to make sure that YouTube just didn't steal the channel back from me, but I'll probably restore memberships. But when people were really actually pestering me to create memberships, I didn't understand why. I was like, look, I'm not doing this to make money. It's not about money. But I quickly realized by following other channels and watching that the memberships were about the longevity of being a supporter for the channel, so people could see that they knew that you were here for a long time, the custom emojis, and just a sense of community. So I mean, it's really about that. It's not about making money. Trust me, most of my members are South Africans, and I only get 1/4 of the dollar exchange rate because YouTube takes all the money. So it doesn't. Yeah. It's not a money-making venture, that's for sure. But the memberships give people a sense of a belonging. I think maybe that's why you did it as well.
Yeah, it is just a way to broaden the community, some chat with some individual guys, because I put out a video every morning, as you know, and there is some people that really want to contribute, and some people who want to show appreciation, and with whom I discuss perhaps more in detail certain things of importance.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So the Thursday, is that a members only stream, or just, is open to everybody?
Now, Thursday night is only members, and but what I then do is for 48 hours, only members can also go back and watch it. But then after 48 hours, I open it up to everybody.
Actually, maybe I should do that. Well, once a week for members only, since we've gotten so many new members on the channel, and do something special once a week. I'd only done an occasional members thing, so maybe a weekly thing is a good idea. So maybe I'll follow your lead there. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Let me welcome Vilma Erasmus and Gerhard van Heerden, who just became subscribers. Bye donkey. I'm very happy that you've joined us. So let me talk about my trip real quick, because a lot of it unfolded after. Well, you were kind of in the two-thirds of the way through it, but we didn't get a lot of chance to talk. For those who don't know, Wynand sets up an event. We did it in Uppington the first time. We did it this time in Pretoria East. And by the way, I didn't realize that it was right down the street from Boer Convoys. It was right down the street from there, because I went back there to meet with the guys from Boer Cola who run that place at a later date. But so we met there. We had a conversation talking about things. And one of the questions I was asked towards the end, Vine, you'll probably remember this, and people's like, so what can we do? I mean, we're outnumbered here. What can we do? And I'm like, if you're under 40, raise your hand. And some people in the audience raise their hand. I said, go home tonight and make babies. That's what you can do. That's what you can make babies tonight. That was a bit of a lighthearted moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I always enjoy when we are sitting, chatting like that. And the big thing is that you don't actually have a pre-prepared thing that you are going to talk about. So you are actually being led by the questions that is being put forward. Ideas came up in your head, and you sort of talk more naturally, focus on things, and that works out very well also with the audience.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. And I'm not sure where you want to do it next time. I'm looking at coming back in August, just a heads up on that. I've got the World Cup in France in September. I'm going to have to sell drugs or something to raise money for that. I'm not sure what I'll do, but I'm planning on coming back in August. And so I don't know where you guys want to do it, but I don't know if this trip I'll get back to Uppington, but I would like to get back to Uppington sometime and spend a little bit of time up there, because last time it was in and out very quickly. There's a lady up there, Katrina Esau, I think her name is. She speaks Nul, which is a San language. I think it's a Khoi sign language that's dying off. She's the last, first language speaker of it, and she's 86. If I can get up there before she passes, I'd really like to meet her. I tried to get through her granddaughter to interview her, but I like to promote languages, and so that's something I'd like to do. But I'm not sure if you thought about where to do it next time, Western Cape or the Free State. Any thoughts on where we might do this next time, the Fireside with the Colonels?
Probably down in the Cape. I'm thinking about Mossel Bay side, or maybe halfway between Cape Town and Mossel Bay, somewhere around there. But as soon as you have confirmed your dates, I will start working this side, and we will arrange it.
All right, maybe I should book my ticket soon. That way I get a cheaper ticket. Prices keep going. I'll tell you, it's crazy. I looked at a plane ticket, and $600 or $464 what the airlines get. The taxes and fees were $650. So the tax and fees are 120% of the price. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
These governments just make money left and right. Anyway, so back to this last trip. So the last trip it was 5 weeks, and I got there the last week in January. I started off, landed at OR Tambo there, or Jan Christian Smuts. That also pisses people off when you call it Smuts. Either Tambo or Smuts works out well. Just say Joburg, I guess. Landed at Joburg, drove down to Natal. Went to Dundee, stayed overnight. I hadn't been in Dundee for 2 decades. Drove out to Blood River that afternoon and saw Blood River and did some videos from there. It went very well. It was a good experience, but it was blazing hot because it was summertime. It was brutal. I can only imagine what it was like for those guys in December to be out there. It was pretty hot. And then I went from Blood River back to Dundee. The next day I went out to Rorkestrip and Isandlwana. When I was in Isandlwana, one of my viewers, who's a Zulu doctor who lives not too far from there providing services, he's not from there, but that's where he works in a rural clinic, He met me at Isandlwana. So at the battlefield, one of my viewers met me up there. That was pretty cool because, Isandlwana is pretty remote. It's out there by itself. Yep. But the roads, I got to say this, fine. Oh, my goodness. The roads are just total disaster. It took me an hour longer in driving just so I didn't blow a tire or, damage an axle out there because the roads are washed out. So I came back from there. Then I went down to Howick. At Howick, once again, I was at the Drakensberg Choir School, spoke to the kids there. And then from there, went up to the Drakensberg, and that's what you see behind me. That's the backdrop of where I stayed overnight in the Drakensberg. And I was just thinking of, wow, coming across that with wagons, oxen, and that was quite a journey for the four trekkers, trek boys. And then I went from there up to oh gosh, what's the place there? Clarence again, and then drove through the Free State and flew down to the Western Cape. In the Western Cape, I saw beekeepers. I saw Barry Hilton perform. Went to several vineyards as usual. Once again, I spoke once again over there at the Reformation Society with Dr. He's drawing a blank right now, but anyway, Dr. Peter. What's his name? Anyway, but yeah, long warning here. And I also covered a lot of political events, so you know about those. Then I flew back up to Gauteng, and while in Gauteng, I also went up to Northwest. And in Northwest, I did anti-poaching operations on the reservoir up there in Northwest Province with the local farmers. And we dissuaded a few people from poaching who kind of showed up and put some drift nets out there. They turned around and left when they saw us out on the water in boats coming towards them. And then did night patrol with AfriForum there in Zeros. That was pretty interesting. Did the event with you guys out there in Pretoria East. Got almost declared an undesirable migrant into South Africa because the idiot at OR Tambo put the wrong date in my passport. And they told me I overstayed my visa, so I had to scramble and fix that. That was a mess. Anyway, it was just kind of like that. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. I went to Velbedocht, and Steve Hofmeyr called me up on stage to sing with him. That was pretty cool.
Yes. I saw that part, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty
but
cool.
I also detected a little bit of a false note or two.
Okay. Oh, from me or from Steve? I'll talk to him about that. He's got to work on his voice. Yeah, no, listen, it was funny because before the event at Velbedocht, Skalk Burgers, by the way, folks, Skalk Burger will be on the program tomorrow. Skalk Senior, not the guy that played for Saracens, but both are Springboks. Skalk Senior will be on the program tomorrow. We're going to talk about Afrikaans culture and language. Feel free to tune in tomorrow, same time. Skalk will be here. But so I went to Velbedocht, and I was walking past the wine tasting room, which closed because it was for the performers and their staff. And I've been setting up, checking my camera and everything. And this guy comes out and goes, "Are you Mr. Chris?" I'm like, yeah, I guess so. So he walked me inside, and there was Steve Hofmeyr went out, and he goes, "I'm going to sing a song for you." I said, "Oh, okay, you're going to sing Die Land?" Because I love that song. He goes, No, not Die Land. I said, there was another song I asked him if he was going to sing it. And he said, No, I'm not going to sing that. I'm going to sing the Ballad of the Green Beret. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Thanks, man. So I went out, and when he started performing, I set my camera up. I really find it annoying when people go to sporting events or concerts and the photographers and media guys get in front of you and block your view when you paid for really good seats. So I was careful not to block the people in the front row, and I had my camera on the side filming, and Steve started speaking Afrikaans, saying, "We've got a big supporter of Afrikaners here, and Afrikaans in South Africa. He's an American in Afrikaans." I'm like, oh, he's talking about me. So I moved the camera around the front, and they got out of the way, and they said, he sang the first stanza. He goes, "I need you up here on stage." So I came up on stage, and he introduced me, and people cheered. It was pretty cool. And then he said, "You know the words?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I can't sing." He's like, "Come on." So then Steve Hofmeyr pulls me in danger close, real close, like face to face like this, and singing. And so if you watch the video, you'll see my arm was like this. I was a little uncomfortable that close in my personal space, but it was pretty cool. It was really nice gesture by Steve Hofmeyr, and the crowd absolutely loved him. It was really fantastic. That concert was supposed to be at the Tal Monument, but those cowards backed out and canceled the contract. He tried to get it there, but wound up being at Velbedocht. So anyway, it was pretty cool.
But Gus, Steve is about the only singer, if that's the right word, artist, who is really into our case. And he's getting banned from all the other places because he's singing the old, national song of South Africa, the stem. So he's being banned everywhere. But I think that Steve can do better just focusing on on our people because they support him 100%. He was at the Voortrekker Monument on the 29th of April, and he drew 20,000 people.
Wow, I didn't know it was that many. I knew he was performing, but 20,000, that's incredible.
20,000 people, and it started raining. And nobody left.
Wow.
They stayed in the rain to listen to him. So Steve's support and what he is doing for our culture and our language and our people is extraordinary. And I don't know whether Steve is listening, maybe, but someone might send in the video, Steve, you are doing good, you are doing great. I saw a video of him this morning as well. And he's really bringing his side in keeping our culture alive, our songs alive, and what is important to us. But then, the next question, who is us?
Well, I agree with you 100%. And here's the thing. The left keeps trying to cancel Steve Hofmeyr. And every time they do it, it just goes wrong. They canceled him on that cruise. And I think that was dishonest business. That was a bait and switch. That cruise line and the promoters put Steve Hofmeyr as a headliner to fill that ship up. And when he got canceled, I was one of the first to find out about it, not from Steve, but in the public. And I did a TikTok video on that, sitting in Pretoria at the Southern Sun Hotel. And I aired my grievances with the people, and I said that's wrong because that's dishonest. You book Steve, it's bait and switch, and then you cancel him knowing you were never going to have him play. And so if I was the guest, I'd cancel. And you should have seen, I had over 50,000 responses on that video, and hundreds of people who claimed that they were going on the cruise. Obviously, some of them probably weren't, but claimed that they canceled their seats. And as I understand it, that cruise didn't go particularly well for that cruise line. So good on them. But every time they try to cancel Steve, people just rise up against the nonsense. I mean, what's the cancel? I mean, I'm sick of the nonsense. And by the way, Steve does watch this program periodically, and he definitely reads my my tweets on Twitter. I know that. But what's so racist, which is what they call Steve all the time, about defending your culture? I mean, the Xhosa, the Venda, the Tswana, the Zulu, the Khoi, the San, everyone's welcome to protect their culture. It's in the Constitution in South Africa. There's nothing wrong with defending your culture. But of course, the small-minded people like to come after Steve because anything white is evil in their mind. And that's the mindset of a bigot and a racist, in my view.
I think throughout our history, we have risen above all the problems that were thrown our way. Look at when the Voortrekkers left the Cape because of the British, and how they followed us into the Boer republics because of the gold and the diamonds and the war and everything that happens. That battle has never stopped. They know that we will rise again. So the only way to destroy that is to break down our culture, what we believe in, our religion, and what is dear to us. Make it stupid, make it simple, break it down. And unfortunately, to a very large part of our population, it has happened. And it was successful. But I think that the core of people who are standing behind Steve believes like we do. And that is, and we will survive. Whatever is coming our way, we will survive.
No, I agree 100%. That's the challenge. The sad part, though, is that South Africans, black, white, and brown, who felt the need to emigrate away from their country, and that was a lot of Afrikaners, a few 100,000 Afrikaners who've left the country and gone to what they thought was, a brighter day in the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, even some to the U.S. And then in the U.S., maybe a brighter day, but in most of those countries, not quite the bright future they thought it was. But even if you get to a safe harbor where you feel comfortable, your culture and your language is going to die off by the next generation. That's just the nature of things. Where are the Afrikaner communities in Argentina? They don't exist. There's Afrikaans surnames. There's a few Dutch Calvinists left there, but they speak Spanish and their first name is Eduardo. Eduardo de Vet is not an Afrikaner. I'm just, that's gone. And I think the example of this you can see very clearly is Germans. Germans emigrated in the millions, tens of millions over the course of a couple centuries to North America, to South Africa, to Canada, to all around the world, and to Latin America. And everywhere the Germans went, with the exception of the Amish and the Mennonites, and South Africa is one notable exception too, where you have German communities, fourth generation, who still speak German. With those exceptions, they immigrate, they assimilate, and they become part of that culture. It's the same thing happens to Afrikaners. I mean, you move and it just goes. There are no Afrikaner communities. I mean, the Afrikaners, after the Anglo-Boer War, went to Kenya, and they've become part of the white population in Kenya. They're not really a distinct Afrikaner community anymore. And it's really sad from my perspective when people lose their culture and their identity, and that's what happens. I get why people leave because of security and safety, but the grass isn't always greener, is what I'd like to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's quite a lot of people that is returning to South Africa because they are missing the people and the language and everything around them just too much. And the guys, take Australia, for example, there are 250,000 South Africans in Perth. And they are doing their best to maintain the language, the culture, and everything. But the kids grow up. They become Australians. So when this generation who have left South Africa is dead, then there's no South Africans left.
Yep.
And that's the problem that we are facing or sitting with when people immigrate to another country.
Absolutely. For those Germans who were forced out of the eastern territories of Ostpreußen, Schlesien, Pommern, all of those places, not to mention the ethnic Germans who had lived in what was then Poland, because they'd been part of the German Empire and then given to Poland at the end of the First World War. Those ethnic Germans who escaped, there were 13 million Germans who fled from the east as the Soviet armies came westward, and about 4 million of them were killed en route. It was horrific. But of the 9 million who survived and got to what became the German Federal Republic and the Democratic Republic, which wasn't democratic, those groups had very strong associations for Silesians and Pomeranians and Prussians that lasted from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, when that generation, their kids, started to die off. The last of that generation is still alive and maybe around for another 10 or 20 years max, probably 10 or 15 years, because they're all in their 90s now, 80s and 90s. Once they're gone, there's no one carrying the standard for Sudeten Germans from the Czech Republic. There's no one carrying the standard for ethnic Germans from Silesia, from Nysa. It's gone. That affinity, that tie is broken forever. And in that case, it's really sad. The Silesians lived there for 1,000 years. They were Germans for 1,000 years. And it's just that 1,000 years of history and culture is completely gone, absorbed and destroyed because of migration. Now, that wasn't voluntary migration. That was expulsion. The revenge, the Vertreibung. But yeah, no, it's just really sad to see that. And I'm glad to hear that some South Africans are coming back to South Africa. It's a unique place. But I certainly understand reasons for migrating, employment opportunities, safety, things like that. But people just need to remember that you can't replicate what you've got unless you go to some place where nobody lives.
Yeah. And there's no such place.
Exactly. So, yeah, so my trip was pretty cool. I mean, back to the artist thing. And Steve, I'm disappointed that more artists don't do more things for the Afrikaans-speaking community. They don't stand up more. There is an occasional song or two here and there, but not many artists really put themselves out there in the line. I don't know if it's fear of being canceled, which I think a lot of it is, if it's management by their managers, which is a big part of it too. But it's very frustrating because artists have a huge impact. They really affect culture. I mean, the impact of that song De La Rey by Bok van Blerk, which he recorded a while ago now, was just amazing. Now, of course, it brought out the racist from organizations like the EFF and others who attacked it, calling it a racist song when they didn't even pay attention to what it was about. It had nothing to do with black Africans. It had everything to do with the Kakis, with the Brits. It was about the Brits, De La Rey, can you come back and save us? That's what it's all about. But the point is that had a huge cultural impact. Then we had, the Black Monday movement, which took place in response to farm murders. That's kind of petered out. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's really petered out. But the farm murders continue unabated across South Africa. But artists have a big impact, and it's sad for me that more aren't involved. But again, I think it's because they're afraid of being canceled.
No, I agree with you, Chris. Artists can play a huge role, but there is certain artists who think they are doing well, but in fact they are breaking us down. There are certain songs that is not to the benefit of our people. There are certain songs that makes us common, that makes us look common, and it's very popular and it's being sung everywhere. But I get the idea that if you listen to the words, it is degrading to us to listen to those words. And then it's sometimes by some big names in the industry who is doing that. And it might sound nice and it's popular and it's half-naked girls or whatever else you want to say. But when you build a culture, when you work on your culture to protect it, then at least it must be positive. It must project the image. And that's what Steve is doing very well. But there's some of our singers that is ignoring it, and it's all about popularity, making money, etc. Now I understand, the first guy understands the necessity of money because you got to live. But you cannot sell your people down the drain for money. That you can't do.
No, I got you with that. You know, it's some songs are very entertaining from that standpoint, but they don't really comport with Afrikaans culture. I mean, you know, Boer Pumpy, quite popular.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it, but I wanted to.
I know you didn't say it, but Boer Pumpy, quite popular. Very popular video, very catchy tune, but not the most respectful song. We'll leave it at that. Rikus and Snotkop. But there's other songs out there like that really. And then you have just kind of the sugary sort of pop stuff that not necessarily. It doesn't reflect badly, but it's not more the traditional stuff like Kurt Darren's Kalfut Soki. That's not really traditional sort of thing, but quite catchy. But I don't think it's really. It's not offensive. That one's not offensive, but I could see where a lot of people might find Border Pumpy to be a little bit offensive. That one certainly, yeah. But anyway.
Now, you know, when I attend a thing like that, and I don't attend a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who go out to a stadium to watch the singers, but I've seen a couple. When I leave there afterwards, I want to feel encouraged. I want to feel strengthened. I want to feel uplifted. I want to feel patriotic, nationalistic, or call it what you want, but that's what I want to feel. And that is what Steve is doing right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also, and I got to give him credit for this too. Years ago, when I taught at the Iowa State University, I went to a Bonnie Raitt concert because it was a concert offered on campus, and her music was okay. I liked it. But I discovered something really cool about Bonnie Raitt. She promoted artists who were pretty much cheated out of their money by the studios back in the 50s, but basically blues and those kind of singers. And they're mostly black, but I mean, they were cheated by, but they weren't the only ones. A lot of artists were cheated back then. So they never got any money, and these studios made, millions off their music. And a lot of them were destitute and poor. And she would promote these really talented singers who were in their 60s and 70s, and they would open for her concert. And I was like, that's really cool. She's paying it back. Steve has a segment of his concert that he's doing now in which he pays homage and honor and sings along with recordings of, famous and well-known Afrikaans music performers from back in the day. And it's really classy. It's nice. And for me, it's like, I know the songs, but I don't know the artists because I heard them way back when. But, so it's really cool for me to see that. But I think that's a nice touch, and it's really classy of him to do that.
I agree 100%.
Andre Schoenfeld says, hello to me. That's the guy who just became a subscriber. Just a remark, the time is near for the Boer folk to wake and become great again. Well, perhaps, but folks got to stop dividing themselves. I mean, Afrikaner, the Boer are really good at one thing, forming loggers of two and looking at the other logger 100 meters away. I mean, I'm being a little facetious here, but you got to stop divide. Everybody can't be the chief. You got to have some Indians here, folks. I'm just doing a lot of recent rereading of the campaigns from the Trek Boers moving up into the Highveld, and also the conflict, the Second Anglo-Boer War, and honestly, not to refight the Anglo-Boer War, but I mean, if only we left a token force at Ladysmith and gone on to Durban, which the plan was before the Brits got there, and prevented them from landing, and maybe things might have turned out differently, and the raids in the Western Cape might have led to a bigger uprising. But anyway, that's Monday morning quarterbacking a century and 20 years later. But but the point is that one thing that Boers, in particular Afrikaners, are pretty good at is like dividing themselves. And I've told Wynand this story before. Giselle, who's from Grootfontein in Namibia, is I call her a Boermeisie because she grew up on a farm there. And when I did that 3 years ago in my program, I got people coming, she's not a Boermeisie. What are you talking about? She's not a Boermeisie. I'm like, well, she's an Afrikaner. She grew up on a farm. What is she? An advertising executive? She's a Boermeisie. And people were arguing with me. And I said, see, that's the problem, guys. Same people, same language, same culture, everything's the same. And because she lives in Namibia, she doesn't qualify as a Boermeisie. Knock it off. That's just silly. But anyway, that's kind of my take on it.
But Chris, maybe this is a good time.
Yeah.
People like to let's go a little bit back in history, and not very far.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Ingenterblands, AWB, the Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging.
Yep.
Right. Recent years, all of a sudden, somebody decided there's a difference between a Boer and the Afrikaner.
Yep.
And that's being driven purposely to divide us.
Yep.
The same way as they are using religion to divide us. And the third one they are using is fear. We are going to lock up all 200,000 of your people. Woo, this government? No, they don't have the ability. They can arrest me.
They can't lock up criminals that are walking the streets.
Exactly. The point is, we have been brought up too well by our parents. You must listen to what the headmaster at the school is saying, what the magistrate is saying, the police chief is saying, the minister is saying, and then the bank manager in every small town. They was the guys that is running the show. So we are being brought up very
proper.
What's the word?
Proper. Respectful.
No, we have been brought up to listen,
to be attentive.
Yeah, but gehoorzaam.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different word in English, but we have been brought up like that, and we can't move out of that bracket. That's one of the big problems that we are sitting with. When they say wear your masks, who is wearing their masks?
Wasn't me.
The white South Africans.
Wasn't
mainly.
me.
Yeah, but understand what I mean.
Yeah,
we obey the law. We stay within the limits of the law. We don't break the law. Everybody else is breaking the law. Right from the president right down to the crime syndicates and just ordinary criminals is breaking the law. But we stay within the limitations of the law.
You obey the law.
We as Afrikaners or Boer or what you want to call us, if we want to survive, we got to lift out the nitty-gritty and the bullshit that people talks about all the time. They're fighting about things that is not important.
Yeah, irrelevant.
Important as an aim, a mission, what you want to reach, what you want to become. not about what you are being called or not being called. Here's a knock on the door. I think my coffee has arrived.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Thanks, you.
I'm very well. I'm glad to see you're doing well. You have to get me back on your radio program. I'm looking to be interviewed again.
Yes, we'll do that soon.
Okay, we'll do that soon. All right, thanks. Okay, I'm confused. Is there a door on both sides, or does the room get changed around? It's like the door's on the opposite side now.
No. I'm living in the new place, Chris.
Okay, that's not the same place. Okay, I was like,
No.
wait, the door's on the wrong side.
Yeah. No, the one you see on that side is a cupboard,
Yeah,
and the
okay.
door is here. But
Yeah, but the door
was
used to,
locked.
but the door used to be on the other side.
Correct, yeah. But the house that I rented was sold, and so I had to move to a new place.
Okay.
But very nice, maybe even a bit better than where we used to be.
Okay.
But we as South Africans have to start looking at what we want to achieve. And forget about the nitty-gritty and the divisive stuff on the side.
Yeah, agreed. It's all just distractions. That's what it is. People need to stop listening to distractions and pay attention to what matters. You have to have a goal, of purpose, of focus. And that's why, I said it kind of tongue in cheek, but I was serious. For the people gathered that room that night are concerned about their culture and their people, go have babies, raise families, teach your children to be respectful and steep them in your culture, in your language, in your faith, and that will continue. It will continue into perpetuity, but you must do that. You can't be this, I want to live in the city and have a big financial income and I'm just going to have no kids or have 1 or 2 kids. Well, great. Then your culture dies with you. I mean, there just aren't that many. If there were 150 million Afrikaners, okay, then a lot of people could afford to do that. But there's only 2.8 million of you hanging out in South Africa, so you got to knock boots and make babies, boys and girls. Just saying.
Well, I've done my
share, you've done your part. That's true. You've done your part. Definitely live in the traditions that go back quite a ways there with the large family, but absolutely. No, it is interesting how easily people get distracted, not just in South Africa, but in Europe and here in America, paying attention. Like we just had this guy run over a bunch of people with his SUV in Texas, a bunch of Venezuelan illegal immigrants. He ran over them and the media, white supremacist attacks people with SUV. His name is I don't know. He's Hispanic. He's brown. He's not a white supremacist. And they just immediately assume that. It's and people just jump on that with emotion before they even know the facts, even see the person involved and know the name. They just start making accusations. Kind of reminds me anytime that Steve Hofmeyr's name comes up, people just start making unfounded allegations against Steve without even knowing what's going on. I think it's really sad, but I think it speaks a lot to a topic I've been discussing frequently of late, and that's education. Education is abysmal in most of the world. People can't even identify places near their home, don't even know anything about their history, and it's really sad. And I think that plays a role in why people act so emotionally, because they're not governed by reason and critical thinking, but by emotions. And I think that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's like that old joke that they are telling about it happened before my time. I don't know.
I got it. I was reading a comment here from After Hour SitRep, which is a good username. I like that. Anytime I use a SitRep, situation report, I like that. It says, according to Charlize Theron, there's only 44 Afrikaans speaking people. Charlize Theron is a clown. She can shut up and go hide in the corner. I don't care. She's huge disappointment.
Yeah, no, I'm not even going to comment on that.
Yeah, no, I don't expect you to. It's safe for me to do that. She's here in America, and I'm in a big pond, so it's a smaller pond back on that side. So let me ask you this question. Let's get to the change stuff that you mentioned earlier. Now, people might notice that we're wearing similar colors. Mine's a little darker. Yours a little bit lighter. You've got the cap on. You've got the jacket on. I've got the shirt on from the Sightliners Defense Organization. Now, one of my viewers wrote to me and said, you should get Wynand on because he heard that Sightliners Defense has been divided into a civil and military organization. Is that something we can talk about? Is that true?
Chris, yes. It did happen, unfortunately. And And I told you about three factors. The one is the Afrikaner Boer story. The other one is the religion, and the third one is fear, fright, fear of persecution. And that's what the feeling that I got when I was informed by the leadership of the civilian part of the Zuidlanders that we must now go in our own organizations. We have now grown to a large enough organization, so we must be on our own, and they will be on our own. So it was as if they pushed us away to sort of, so that they can distance themselves from us. And that happened very unexpectedly. And I must say I was shocked when that happened, because you don't break a large organization like this just splitting them. There might be other reasons, but I think the main reason for it is to get away from us. Now, you can't organize what we are organizing without attracting attention.
Of course not.
But we have reached the point where we don't have a choice if we want to be prepared once violence and anarchy broke out throughout South Africa, which is very close if you look at Eskom, if you look at all the corruption that is going on, the problems with the payments of SASSA that goes with it. So somewhere at a stage, a person must stand up and say, well, if it needs be, if it comes down to the point, we will defend our people with everything that we can do. So we run the Zuidland defense, and I'm going to come back to the name now. We used to run it along military lines, military structure, military discipline. So now they are saying we are building an army. We are not building an army, but history has taught us. In Kenya, in 1965, during election time, that it was expected that violence might break out. And the former brigadier in the British Army organized exactly what we are organizing now. A place and a plan to protect the people along military lines. So it is in line to do that. You have to have a disciplined structure, otherwise you are not going to survive. So any survival company that thinks they are going to use any other model than a sort of a military disciplined structure is going to fall apart. And I have no doubt in my mind that that is what will happen. So we are now on our own, the Zuidland defense, but we have now become the Zuidland civil protection. In other words, civilian protection, Zuidland burgerlijke bescherming. Okay? I think it is Zuidland civilian protection if you direct translate it.
Yeah, that sounds about
I
right.
haven't even thought about the English name yet. And yeah, so we very quickly have now to form an NPO. We are busy with that. We have to have a bank account. We have to take over the rent of the building and everything that goes with it. So it's a hell of a disruption that we are experiencing at present. But it gives us a new opportunity. So we can now much widely in the now time before violence and anarchy assist people. So that is a bonus that we have received from this whole issue. And the first one is we can now do firefighting on the farms that are being put to fire. We can do firefighting. We have already created in the past week a couple of firefighting units that will do it under our banner at different places. And we are going to expand this throughout the country. The other one is also airborne assistance, aviation assistance from the air wing. People can now fly out to assist, deliver food when necessary, and even in the cases like Natal in 2021, fly in with foodstuff, with ammunition if needed by people, etc., etc. Then we look at trauma, trauma counseling, medical training, as well as certain VIP security training and the exercise thereof. So there's a couple of functions that we have added to what we have done in the past. In the past, we were absolutely an Armageddon situation, a last stand operation, which we still are. But in the meanwhile, we are going to use our assets and our people to assist people in need right now, where we can. Of course, we don't have everything. Of course, we can't do everything. But what we can do, we will do. So we are becoming much more active now than we used to be in the past. Of course, it asks for the adaptation of a few of our plans. We have to reorganize a bit. We have to replan. You know how it works. The situation changes. You have to adapt to that changing situation. All in all, I think it's not necessarily a bad move. It might be a good move because we will still be there to form the backbone of the protection of our people. On that, nothing has changed. We will stand on the protection of our people. What did change is how we are going to do. That changed. And that was necessitated because all of a sudden we have lost a huge number of bodies, although on the civilian side we have lost them. But on our side, currently, the members that joined me, we haven't had any losses since we have discussed this split in the organization. It's not actually that it is all gone. It's just that we are on our own feet now.
Okay, so let me try to make sure I understand it correctly. First off, Philip van Niekerk said, Het Zeitland dan nu in twee gebrek. Yeah, it's broken into two, essentially, correct? Okay, so that's the first thing. Haha, you guys thought I didn't know Afrikaans. Haha. Anyway, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, so the organization is broken into a civil and a military, but they're not linked anymore, overarching. There's not like, so there's a complete break. But is there still an association?
But just remember, not a military organization, organization organized along military lines.
No, I got you. Okay, yeah. So there's a civil organization and a civil defense organization. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Civil defense organization. Yeah. Sorry, I misspoke there. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me on that. Okay. So, but you're not still linked. It's so is Gustav Müller the head of the civil side, and who leads the civil defense? Is that you, or is it someone else?
No, it's me and all my the senior guys. Of which you have met many of them. Mm-hmm. So no, nothing on that side, nothing has changed. It's literally moved apart. But I think also that maybe we have outgrown the civilian side. We have progressed too far. You know, if you look at the meetings that we have held in Uppington, and even in Pretoria now, Fireside with the colonels, Kamp 4, met die kolonelle. The civilian side has never organized things like this. We have done that. So I get the feeling that maybe we have surpassed them in planning, in preparedness, in readiness, and in, let's say it, maybe ability.
Now, if I heard correctly, the organization's lost some support. Some people have left it, and that's on the civil side where they've lost. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
Both sides have lost some people, people who are fed up with the vision and this type of thing that is happening. But I think that we, on the civil defense side or protection side, we have gained a lot. Because I still stick to the same values, to the same stuff, to the same things. I got a nation to save if anarchy breaks out. That's my objective. That's my purpose. My purpose is not to hide, is not to get away. My purpose is to be there for my people. I've stuck out my neck 2 years ago and it's readily grown this thing, and I will continue to do that. My followers and supporters expect me to be on the front line, and that's where I am. So I must do what is necessary, and what is necessary is what the appreciation show us. The military appreciation or a strategic appreciation, call it what you want. We have done it. We are the only organization in South Africa who have done this over the past 20 years, a proper one. So we cannot deviate from the broad guidelines that came out of that. Because if we deviate, we are not going to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to stick. We got to stick with it. We can change here and there. Yes, we can adapt, but the broad outline cannot change.
Well, I want to thank Yanni Thron, who just became a subscriber. Thank you for that. And all right, well, my association hasn't been with the Sightlanders. It's been with you personally. That isn't split. We still have an association, right? Because my association was with Wynand to Toit, not with the Sightlanders necessarily. We're still good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of confusion, so it's actually good that we talk about this a bit.
Agreed.
There's a lot of confusion and uncertainty. Whereas I drove this part, let's say the civil defense.
Well, let me stop you right there, Wynand, real quick, because I mean I didn't hear the names when you said them in Afrikaans, and that's why I was guessing what it was. Someone just corrected me. So what are the names of the two organizations going forward in Afrikaans? Tell me the civil side. What's the name of that? Just
Sightlanders.
Just Sightlanders. Okay, and your side is called Sightlanders what?
No, Sightland.
Oh, just Sightland.
Sightland.
Just Sightland. So there's Sightlanders and Sightland now.
Sightland, burgerlijke bescherming.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because one of my viewers said that the proper term would be protect rather than defense. Maybe that's a better term to translate. Okay, protect. Okay, got it. Okay, well, that helps clarify things. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
Yeah. So that's what we are focusing on. But the main issues hasn't changed. The main focus hasn't changed. It just caused me a lot of problems administrative-wise to now have to again go and form a company formally, etc., etc., etc. But I think on the long run, it's going to be a good separation. That does not mean that the Sightlanders is now becoming an opposition group or anything like that. I mean, there is still ties. I mean, we were one for a very long time. We did not break apart because of animosity or problems that came up between me and Gustav, for example. I wasn't expecting this at all. It happened very suddenly, and I was in shock for about 2 weeks.
I can imagine.
about, yeah. Uh, I didn't expect it, Chris, to happen, but
it's
it
kind of out of
did
the
happen.
it's kind of out of the blue, isn't it?
Yeah, and it did happen. So now I must make the best of it, and the best is just to keep focused on what did the strategic appreciation showed us the way forward. Stick to that way. Stick on the road. Stick to the values. Stick to what we want to achieve. The main aim, as I said earlier with the division factors, is a question of forgot about all the differences. We can sort that out later. But let's focus on the objective. And the objective is the survival of our people.
Yep. So well, I'll call this what we said about the Czechoslovakia breaking into the Czech and Slovak republics. It sounds like it was a velvet divorce. In other words, no acrimony, just a breakup for the betterment of both groups to move forward for their different approaches to do this, which frees you up to do some of the things like you're talking about, firefighting and helping people with trauma and other things, which is pretty interesting. But in this velvet divorce, my words, not yours, in this velvet divorce of Sightlanders and Sightland, who got the radio station? Do you have it, or is it?
No, of course, we keep the radio station, Gus, because we saw in our appreciation that we need this radio station. The donor of the radio station came to me after we presented it to them, and he said to me, "What is your next project?" And I said, "The radio station." He said, "I'll do it." So the radio station was born out of a need for the future, not necessarily now, but in the future. So the radio station is an essential part of our plan of the Zuidland Burgerlijke Bescherming, the SBB. It's part of our plan, and that's where it will stay.
Okay, well, then me asking your wife to interview me still has value. It wasn't like she was just being polite, because it's still there.
Yeah, no, I haven't deviated 1 inch from what I've set out to do 2.5 years ago. I'm still on the very same course, still the very same things that I'm saying. The radio station will continue as it is doing now. But I must say, they have developed quite a lot. They are now doing external broadcasts for the mall and the agricultural show and that type of stuff. So we are developing anyway.
No,
but it
awesome.
doesn't mean that Zuidlanders cannot listen to the radio station. Of course they can listen to the station. Anybody can listen to the station. Because we, as the namesake, is Zuidland. Now, Zuidland is like Puntland, Zuidland. It refers to a region, to an area, or to a geographical location. So everybody in there, we will protect.
Yep. So I haven't asked for an update on this in some time, because initially when internet, you were working out the radio broadcast license. Does the station is it transmitting over the air now, or is it still internet only?
No, not yet. Only on internet currently. And the sender, everything is ready. Just a question of flipping the switch and we broadcast live.
All right, cool.
We expect that when anarchy breaks out, there won't be any control, and we will still need to advise people, to give them advice over the radio, to tell them what they must do, what they must not do, which areas they must not go to or not pass through, etc.
Yeah, I was curious about whether you got the license, because sometimes officials can be a little bit slow. The bureaucrats don't make things happen very fast.
Listen,
go ahead. Yeah.
The deeds office.
Yeah.
The deeds office in Pretoria is closed. Shut down. No property can be transferred into another person's name.
Wow. That's doesn't surprise me, but it's really That's just kind of how the things are crazy there. There's a couple points I want to bring out here. One is one of my viewers in Pennsylvania, I think it was Keith Safford, was talking to LMI 5 Pence. They were talking about ham radio operator, I believe, because I saw a call sign listed there. Ham radio is a fantastic hobby to have, folks. It's a fantastic life-saving service if you are in the business of doing ham radio. It's something you should check out. It's reliable, it's dependable, it's worked for decades, and it's a great way to reach people around the world to communicate via ham radio. So if you're into it, check it out. It's not as expensive as it once used to cost so much money, but now it's much more affordable. Check in a ham radio. When your mobile service goes down, your ham radio is still going to transmit over the surface of the globe and over the airwaves. And then here's a question from Patrick W. to both of us. I'll let you answer it first, and then I'll answer it. He says, Chris and Wynand, your take on a non-Christian who understands and accepts your ideals. So from that, I take it, Patrick, he said before he's not a Christian, but he obviously believes in the ideas and concepts we're talking about here. So any comments or thoughts on his question about our take on a non-Christian who understands and accepts our ideals?
If he is a conservative guy and share our values, he will be more than welcome.
There you go.
We have many times in the past said, if a non-believer joins and becomes part of the soul, what is happening will probably end up a believer. And as a Christian, we say we don't judge people. But heck, who is more judgmental than some of the Christians? So everybody is welcome as long as he is a conservative guy, thinking like us, feeling like us, and then we believe it. You know, it's like throwing out a net in the sea to catch all the fishes. Doesn't matter what religion eats fishes. Once the fishes is ashore, then the good fisherman who knows all the fishes will take out the bad ones. And the rest will be able to be eaten, sort of. Just explaining. Our job is to throw out the net, not to judge who is correct and who is wrong.
Well, I agree with you, and I like what Sean Manish, one of my viewers in the Cape, has said. Sean, who came to my Mossel Bay event there, which was pretty cool. We had a good time there. Nice at the what's that train called? The Santos Hotel there, the Express. Sean and his parents came to that, and Sean says, as long as Patrick never stops seeking for the truth and doesn't settle for anything less than the truth. Well, that's kind of where I'm at, and I mean, that's a little less bounded than Wynand gave up, but neither one of us are bounded particularly hard. I mean, someone that believes in the rule of law, someone believes in right and wrong, someone that believes that malfeasance should be punished, and that people should respect each other and treat each other fairly, is probably going to be okay in my book. If you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, if you're a Muslim, I don't differentiate from that. Those are three groups of people from the book, all who come from the same region where the religion comes from, I should say. So I don't get excited about that. I do get excited about people who try to push things on other people, which is something we see often is tied to religion. But live and let live. And as I kind of think Wynand said, people who may not be people of faith, who tend to hang around people of faith, often wind up with faith of their own, just a consequence of being around people. So the problem is that all the nonsense has to disappear, all the misperceptions, all the lies about people of faith, and that's what needs to go away. So, I so much propaganda when I was a young man here in America, the nonsense they said about Christians, and we see now 50 years later, 40 years later, the impact of that, where Christianity is denigrated each and every day, and other religions do atrocious things, and no comment is made. But yeah, Patrick, I think you're fine in our book. We don't have an issue with you, so thanks for asking that. All right, so two different organizations. Moving forward, you've still got the radio station, which is important, of course, to what you're doing. You'll be able to provide some other services and organize. Are you, I suspect I know the answer to this question, but are you hopeful for the future as far as the growth of the organization and its ability to accomplish things and help out your people?
Yeah, I'm confident in that. We are inundated with new applications, people that wants to join. There is definitely certain people that prefers that Zuidlanders is not part of us anymore. There has been some problems in the past. Zuidlanders is coming over a period of about 20 years now. And over the years, some people might have been affronted or something went wrong. I never went into details when people start talking about it, but they all now came forward and say, now we will join, we will become part. And so for me, it's a positive. It's a positive. It's an unfortunate thing that has happened.
No.
I did not see it, but if we look at it realistically, now it might be to both organizations' advantage.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And a couple of viewers have said the same thing. Keith Alderson, who's in Coventry in the UK, but knows South Africa, also agrees. He thinks it's probably a net benefit for both sides, a net plus. Yeah, and then Mel Todd says, what about English speakers, I wonder, Colonel Wyatt? Ik praat nie Afrikaans nie, maar ek verstaan. So I mean, obviously, people, you know, I'm not a Sightlander or a Sightland defense or not Sightland protection organization guy, but obviously they don't have any beef with me.
Well, you wear the shirt there, but no, about 30% are English speaking of the guys that is joining me, and even some Portuguese speaking guys. But you know what? As long as they are thinking the same way, there's no difference. Language are not going to be a divider.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's we have a saying, which I suspect you might have had something similar in the South African Defense Force. Certainly not in the SANDF these days, but, you know, for us, it's one team, one fight. And that's how we look at things.
Very true. It's important to remember that we are, when it comes to anarchy, there will be fighting. And when you are in the trenches, so to call it, remember we are tales from the trenches, né? But when you are in the trench, you are not going to ask the guy next to you, listen, what political party do you support? And if he supports the opposite one, say, yeah, I'm not going to fight with you. If the bullets is flying your direction, you are so grateful that there is a guy next to you who is firing back and is supporting you in that role, that you don't mind what language he speaks, what he believes, what he is doing, because he is helping you, saving yourself.
Agreed. No, I tell you, in combat, it wasn't like this. Whiskey Charlie 3, this is Foxtrot Mike Delta, fire mission, just 3 degrees. Excuse me, Whiskey Mike, are you a Democrat or Republican? It doesn't work like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you're called for fire, you want the fire, and you want it on the grid coordinate and the azimuth or mills that you put it on. You don't want it to go elsewhere. I mean, you overcome those differences. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chris, remember, you learn to trust people.
Yeah.
Because when you give the coordinates where you want that fire, you want it there on the coordinates, not from a guy who differs from you politically, and he landed up the ammunition on top of you. You trust each other. If you don't trust, you also can't survive.
Yep.
We are looking at the survival plan firstly. And to survive, we got to trust each other.
Yep, absolutely. What's really heartbreaking.
I told the sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
I told the guys this week, I've now made 930 videos over the past 2.5 years or since COVID breakout. Go and look at my consequential. That's not the right word, but I'm very consequent in what I'm telling the guys.
Consistent.
What I'm
consistent. You're consistent.
Yeah, but you are English. You will know the right word.
Well, I was going to ask for an Afrikaans, but you were still talking.
Yeah, consistent in what I'm saying and doing, and to be consistent for 930 videos. it defies all the accusations of what people sometimes say
Yeah.
that we are trying.
Absolutely. No, I mean, look, if you do that many broadcasts, that many video productions, you'll trip yourself up if you're not genuine. And that's the same thing here. I've done over 3,500 videos in that time frame on the two channels, and I've been consistent too. I challenge somebody to pick a position where I've changed. Now I may have give a different assessment based on changing facts, which is not changing who I am, but I'm consistent in my worldview and how I approach things. And so, yeah, it's the same thing. So you're right. Absolutely. People need to realize that. But, another thing we're talking about call for fire, here's how much trust you have to have in that situation. We saw this at Khe Sanh in Vietnam. We saw this at Port Chop Hill and other times when units are overrun and they're going to be wiped out to the last man. And those guys call for fire on their unit, on their grid square when they're being overrun. And the only chance they have to survive is just duck in a hole and hope they survive the artillery coming in. And they do a call for fire, and they do that fire mission. And you hear the guy on the other end going, "This is your grid square. Roger, fire." And they do it. And the guys firing the artillery know they're going to kill some of their own people. That's incredible. It takes a lot of trust, and it takes a team to make that decision when they know that if they don't do it, they'll all be dead.
Correct.
Yeah. So Albert Murphy says, good evening to both of us. Thanks for your continuing efforts to advance our mission. Well, Albert, thanks for watching us. Appreciate it. I hope obviously you're a subscriber here. Only people who are subscribers can comment. So I can't invite you to be a subscriber. You are a subscriber, but thank you so much for that. So Wynand, anything big coming up? Good.
Who was that?
Albert Murphy.
Yeah, he was with us on the stage.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I was making a point about being a subscriber.
Yeah.
So, you know who I missed at the last one, who was kind of fun the first time? I thought it was kind of weird, but then he actually showed up at my meet and greet in Bloemfontein, and that was Boris. Boris was, he was up there with us in Uppington. He didn't make it to Pretoria, and he's kind of a funny guy. I enjoy him when he's around.
Barry's, yeah.
Yeah, he's got Barty's not Boris. Barty's not Boris. Yeah, so yeah, Barty's. He's kind of entertaining guy. I really enjoy him. So, let me. Okay, good.
I use different guys to organize.
Sure.
So each guy organized with his own people and his own ideas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just saying I miss Barry's because he's a funny guy. When I think I told you this before, when CB, who's here now, she's a teacher, when CB organized, because she's from Bloemfontein but doesn't live there, lives up in Gauteng, but she organized the Bloemfontein meet and greet, and that was after I had interviewed Nas Botha for like 17 hours that day. He never stops talking. Nas loves to talk. He's like me. But no, seriously, it was over 2-hour live broadcast from Bloemfontein. But after I interviewed Nas, and we had a meet and greet that night, and Barry's came to that, and he came, and I was rushing to get things set up, and I'm like, in my head's like, who is this guy? I recognize him. I know him because I just met him in Uppington a few weeks prior. Then it finally dawned on me that it was Barry's. What a day that was. That was fun. But Bloemfontein, that was a nice experience. Went to Bloemfontein this time. I hadn't been there in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. I'd actually never driven in from the east side and then down. I came in from the northern or the eastern part of the Free State, went across Senegal and went out and went down that way. And that's the first time I'd ever done that. I usually approached from a different, anyway, but it was nice time. I had a good time there. So, what's on the horizon? Building membership, getting more members into the protection organization. Are you have any events? You do anything coming up? Things you can share? I mean, obviously, that maybe there's things you can't share, but is there anything you can share so people can know a little bit about it and what to look forward to?
Chris, what I can say is that we are quite busy at the moment. We got a couple of challenges that we are facing here at the headquarters that we must resolve, and which we will resolve. But it takes time. We don't have that very cooperative government, and the personnel there is not as quick as used to be. But we are doing our best. We stay on course. We are doing what we can do. Everybody that shares the same values in us and the same worries, who believe in the survival of our people, they are welcome to join. and become part of this effort. What I did is I opened up a civilian battalion, to call it like that, where people that don't necessarily want to be part of the protection part, who would have normally been in the Zuidlanders area, but they wanted to serve with us. We have created for them a place where they can go to and become part. So we accommodate all the people, even if you don't want to serve, if you can't serve, if you have lost a leg or two or three or what else, and you are not physically anymore. We have created space for those people as well. I mean, there is an old age home who have joined us, but they've said they are joining us, and not Zuidlanders. They are joining us. Old age home, retirement home, you know.
Yeah.
And they have decided it by themselves. They held a meeting and they discussed the situation in South Africa and they decided to join. They have organized buses, trucks to come and load it, and I organized a person to lead them out and bring them, or not a person, but actually a group of people, because they need protection as well. And on this side, we have organized for them a place where they can go to, where they can stay safely and survive the ordeal. So there's a lot of people that agree to many of the things that we stand for, what they want to, but you must always remember, people must have confidence in the leader. They must have confidence in consistency. They must have confidence in ability. Once they have that, you don't have a problem. However, if you are not consistent, if you are not giving good guidance, if you are what else? People are not going to follow you. And it's not that I am looking for a following, is that we work for the survival of our nation, and therefore we need bodies, therefore we need people who can assist with everything. And no one is too young or too old or too crippled or disabled that we can't use on this side. That is my viewpoint, that everybody can be used. And we want to create a home for the conservatives who think and feel like us. But our main priority remains the protection of our people. So if you join me, you must be willing to protect people, not to protect yourself. Because this is not about the survival of an individual. It's about the survival of our Afrikaner Boer folk nation.
Fair points. Let me bring a few comments in from the chat here that have come up. So Keith Alderson said, I believe that during the Boer War on both the Afrikaner and British side, those who believed their side had the solution committed themselves and fought whites, blacks, and browns. Yeah, no, what's often overlooked is that with the Boers from the Free State and from the Orange Free State and the South African Republic or the Transvaal, there were lots of black South Africans and colored South Africans who fought alongside them and with them as part of their commandos and also support for that. And when the Brits put people in concentration camps and 29,000 women and children died there, at least 20 to 40,000 black South Africans also died in those concentration camps, and they are forgotten about by many people, and that's important. So good comment there. John Hing is who's a ethnic Chinese origin South African, and I think fourth generation South African, says the Afrikaner in me is coming out. That's pretty interesting, and he's chatting here in Afrikaans. That's pretty good. And then Gmail wants to know why Klerksdorp is so busy. I have no idea. I didn't know it was ever busy, Klerksdorp, so I'm just saying. And then Benjamin Labaskakne said, mooi so ons lekker says ons geniet. Okay, good thoughts there, good comments. And yeah, so it's interesting that John Hing, who's ethnic Chinese, is feeling his Afrikaans today. He's enjoying that. So we're bringing that at him. So, Bo, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, John, as everyone else. No, I think that's well stated there, Wynand, what you said there. Now, let me just ask for clarification. So you talked about the old folks home and other, the Alterheim in German. I think it's pretty close to Afrikaans. That organization, would that also include things like the fire brigade, the firefighting capabilities? I mean, or would that be on the other side?
No, that's on our side.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, but I mean, inside your organization, Zeitland, you've got this group of people who can't do the protection stuff. They can do other things, and that's what you were referring to. That's why I was wondering if does the fire fall into the protection because it's protecting life and limb?
Yeah, the Fireside, all those stuff will be done by people who is already members in a certain area.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear so people understand there. But if people want to become part of the organization, is there a way to do it now? I mean, do you have a Facebook or a website or something? Because I'm not sure because in the past, I've directed people and sent them in your direction. In fact, I know one of them is here. She asked if women could join. I remember that, and I sent that to you. But is there a way for people to link up if they'd like to become part of this?
Because, there is. Our website, the new website, will be up and running by next week. I'm holding back on it a little bit at the moment because there's still some things that we must do. We've got to have a bank account. We can't have a bank account without the PO registered, etc. So it's going to take a while. But if the people call our office in Uppington, and it's still the same numbers that is applying, then they can do it in the meanwhile by means of the telephone number. Also, our old website is still working, and they can still join through that. But they must then just specify in Zeitland Defense. Like it used to be, it will change within about a week or two. We will have everything up and running and in place. Meanwhile, people can join by calling the old oproep center, the call center, as we said. But the call center's name is also now going to change into Disaster Management Center.
Oh, okay, that's good. And will it do more than just call center stuff? Will it actually become a disaster management center?
Yes.
Okay, like an operations center. That's pretty interesting. We can talk about that sometime in the future as it comes to fruition. That's interesting. That people can still get in touch with the organization in the meantime while waiting to see what happens.
It's still the same telephone numbers that apply, and they can call on those numbers, and we will assist them.
So are both organizations, Zeitlanders and Zeitland, still going to be headquartered in Uppington in Northern Cape?
No, the Zeitlanders is gone, and I think they will probably go back to their previous headquarters in Van der Kloof.
And where?
In Van der Kloof Dam.
Oh, okay. That's not what I heard. There was a little hiccup in the transmission. I'm like, what did he say?
Van der Kloof.
Gmail.
You must.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm speaking West Coast English. You must remember, we only do it in self-defense.
I know. You only speak English in self-defense. I love that. Everybody told me that when I was
previous time I spoke English was with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's the last time you spoke English. It's been, wow. Wow, that's interesting. It's been a while, so that's pretty awesome. But no, when I was in Uppington, everyone I met up there, they always said to me, "We only speak English in self-defense." I love that phrase. But
Yeah.
Gmail wants to know, what does membership include? Well, Gmail, it's funny you should ask. Membership includes an all-expense paid trip to the Orange River, where you can go oyster diving. It also includes a free hoodie and a free T-shirt and a lifetime membership at Ushaka Marine World in eThekwini, also known as Durban. No, it doesn't involve any of those things. membership involves probably paying a regular fee to be part of the organization and linked into it. I don't know. Is there something that comes with membership? Justine says membership includes the plan. The plan is nothing without the people.
Because the membership is paying the essential personnel salaries. It's paying now for the building as well. It's paying for the radio station. And I can tell you 90% of the radio station people are working free of charge. We assist them with fuel, money for fuel, because some of them are living 30, 40 kilometers out of town. So we need that to be able to provide and to plan what we must do. People must just remember, once we go to our assembly area, we will probably be between 14 and 16,000 people. We must do water, what is the word?
Distribution.
Watersaveren.
What is it? Afrikaans?
Saveren, watersaveren.
Oh, well, that's a word I don't know.
To make
Yeah.
to make dirty water drinkable.
Oh, so geez, I can't even think of the word in English here. It's water purification.
Purification.
Yeah, I couldn't even think of it in English.
You have to have at least 6 points. You know, we must transport the water to the people. There is a tremendous amount of stuff, number of stuff that must get into place. Without membership, without donations, without assistance, we can't do it.
Yep.
So, with the current membership, we can do what we must do, but not all the people are paying, because it's not a requisite that a person must pay. I'm not showing away a person that cannot pay that membership fee. He is also welcome. He deserves. He's one of us. He deserves to become part of the organization. So everybody that joins can ask, listen, I'm a pensioner. I cannot afford the $100. So then he joined for free. And he will experience the same benefits. We are estimating that we will probably have, of that 14 to 16,000 people in our main assembly area, we will probably have to feed up to 5,000 people from our side from day one. Because people don't necessarily have the money to prepare, to buy food, to stock up, to prep, like the preppers do. So we must be prepared to do that. We can't even start to explain what must be done to ensure our survival. But every little bit that we do, that goes into planning, to get the senior personnel together for a planning session, it costs money. It's not for free. I can't explain.
No, that's. I think that's fine. But the thing is, I think Gmail is actually interested in the organization. So thank you for being a good sport, Gmail. When I had a little bit of fun with that, the membership things. But the question is it like a second Off Reform? No, it's not like Off Reform. It's a very different organization entirely. Off Reform has a very different purpose, but also is concerned about Afrikaners, but not exclusively about Afrikaners. But that's most of their focus. So it's different, and we'll talk more about it next time that Wynand's on. on here and maybe explain a little bit better for folks. But unfortunately, I have a medical appointment that I have to be at in 45 minutes. It's a half-hour drive, so I'm going to have to wrap it up here. And it's a shame because our audience has really grown throughout and really up there, big audience right now. But Wynand, this is he's been in defense mode the entire hour and 30 minutes, forced to speak English. So I have to apologize for that. But as always,
exactly, Chris, exactly.
Yeah. But we have to give it up for Wynand. Get some applause in the chat there. He's done a great job with his English tonight, given that he hasn't spoken it since January. That's pretty cool. But anyway, so I got to keep improving my Afrikaans, and maybe we can get a little bit further next time. You're welcome, G, and thank you for tuning in. Grant Bradshaw says water purification will be essential when the country goes into chaos. No, absolutely, Grant. Water purification is always an essential thing when things go to crap. It's the most important. You can go for days without food, but you can't go more than about 72 hours without water. You're going to die. So that's critical. So anyway, Wynand, any final thoughts as I wrap it up here? And thanks for coming back on. It's a pleasure to have you as always. And thanks for explaining to us this velvet divorce between the two organizations and what's going on, which I think most people were not associated with the organization, didn't know about it at all. So this is very helpful. But any final thoughts as we wrap up?
Chris, yeah, thank you for the chat tonight, and I like the word, the velvet divorce. I will ask Albert Murphy to explain that to me nicely. He understands that part of the things. I'm joking, Albert, but anyway, people must realize that South Africa is deteriorating day by day now. Things are failing all along the way. And we got a beautiful country. We got a lovely country with lovely peoples of all cultures, of everybody. The problem is we are under the biggest threat when violence and anarchy breaks out. We must ensure our own survival by being proactive now and be active then. But you cannot plan when it is already happening. We need to do all the planning and preparation before the time. The time to join is now. The time to join is not the day when anarchy breaks out. Then it is too late. Then I cannot use you. I don't know where you are. You cannot contact me. All communications has failed, except the home, as you have said earlier. And we got connections with that as well, or we got radios, HF. The point is, the time is now. I don't know how long South Africa will survive. I don't know how long it will take for the power grid to fall. Chris, maybe you didn't heard it, but Botswana
blackout.
Power grid is dropped. And not because it did not generate power, but because of the irregulation or something like that, or the herds on the main line to South Africa caused their systems to trip. We must be careful at this stage. And this is a serious warning. We cannot wait until it happens. If we want to survive, if we want to save our families, our wives and children and grandchildren, our nation, the Afrikaner Boer folk nation, if they want to call both, we have to do it now.
All right. Excellent words. Well spoken. Yeah, the Botswana had a nationwide blackout, not load shedding, complete loss of electricity as a consequence of that hookup to the Southern African power pool coming out of South Africa, and it was just disastrous for them. It was yesterday. I don't know if they've restored power yet. I'm checking up on it, but I hadn't heard any updates from anybody in Botswana, so we'll see. But yeah, no, it's that's coming to a corner near you. We're not quite that far gone yet here in America, but there are some bad signs here too. It's just smart to be prepared, folks. You know, always be prepared. That's why you keep a first aid kit in your house. That's why you keep a warning triangle, a lug wrench, and a spare tire in your car. That's you are prepared for a contingency, and it's no different than the situation in South Africa where chaos could break out at any time. And people that don't believe this need look no further than July of 2021. What happened in KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng? total chaos and anarchy. And the police were outgunned, outmanned, out of bullets, in trouble. The military was useless. They jumped the queue at the few stores that weren't torched to get food, while civilians stood in line for 12 hours to get food at the only ShopRite that wasn't burned to the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not hyperbole. This is not, sensationalism. This is the reality that South Africans are living with. And a lot of people are complacent. So not trying to frighten people. Maybe those things never come to pass. But isn't it better to be prepared than to be in the cock when it all goes sideways? Anyway, so that's my thoughts on it, Vine. You like that response, huh? All right, folks. My co-host, Wynand Toit, you can find him on YouTube, where he does a daily broadcast and now has a members-only broadcast on Thursday nights. Wynand, bye-bye, donkey. As always, it's a pleasure. I'll let you drop off, and greetings to your family, and thank you so much for being here once again.
Thanks, Chris. Same to you. And drive safely to the doctor.
I shall. Okay. All right, folks. Wynand Toit, that's my co-host for today. Is he going to be able to find his way? He found his way off there. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry that we have to cut it short, but an hour and a half is pretty much the attention span for a lot of folks anyway. So that's what I was planning on. But Rolf says thank you. David Super says thanks for answering the interview. Colonels, cheers. Your guests and listeners. Yeah. Cool Beans. Melatodd says excellent live stream. Thank you for that. John Hinn also enjoyed it. What else we got there? ICC meeting at the end of the month. International Criminal Court or the International Cricket Confederation? Stuck in my flat now. Yeah, well, that's Erica. That's the situation you're in. That's why you need people to help you out around you. Okay, what else we got here before I wrap up very quickly? Pity you have to cut it short, says Albert. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're just warming up. We do. We have a good conversation. It's a lot of fun. And I got to give Vine a lot of credit. At times, I speak at, fully automatic mode, and so I go fast. I try to keep it slower for my audience, but sometimes I get excited, especially talking about these things. So there you go, folks. Sightlanders is broken into two different organizations. You heard it here. You've got Sightlanders and you've got Sightland, protection organization there, civil protection. So you can check into that. Hopefully, once that stuff's up, and if you want to become a member of the organization that Wynand is heading, we can get you that information. But stay tuned for that. Tomorrow, right here on the channel at the same bat channel, the same bat time, it's Skulk Burger. We'll be talking about Afrikaans language and culture. That's tomorrow right here at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. South African time. Later this week on Friday at 8 p.m., I'll be hosting Brandy Wells, former Shark gal, a South African who is married to John B. Wells, the radio announcer here in America. Brandy will be on the program Friday, so we're looking forward to that too. That's been some time in the works. And on Wednesday night, I will be appearing, for those who have a subscription, I will be on John B. Wells' Caravan to Midnight. So big week with the Wells family this week, so I'm looking forward to it. Which one is Simon Roach going to? Arctic, I would guess you would go to the Sightlanders, not the one that Wynand is in. So that answers your question, I think, right there. John Hing says this was an awesome stream. Well, thank you for that. I think we were hitting on all cylinders. We did a great, fantastic conversation with John Laban last week about the Boer invasion of Zululand. We've got this here tomorrow, Afrikaans language and culture. Unfortunately, on Wednesday, I cannot do Kenako because I've got election training, but I will be on Ronaldo's program after that. So, yeah. So don't forget to join us tomorrow, folks. Thanks a lot. Give us a like if you don't mind. Chaos has been breaking out quite a while here in the U.S. too. Yeah, David, but we're not quite to the point where our electricity is going to go out all the time, and everyone is. Anyway, I just won't go into detail on that. But thank you all so much, and appreciate you tuning into the program. You all have a lovely day, and I'll catch you here tomorrow, unless we do a Night Owls, which I don't think is on the cards for today. But anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. If it is, I'll get the word out in the groups, and we'll catch you here tomorrow on Chris Wyatt Africa. Yeah, Fireside with the Colonels. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed this conversation today. Cheers, everybody. Be safe out there.